is actually the second one of these naming ceremonies that we've done. We just did Herman Bishop in November. It's a tradition we hope to continue and look forward to doing again in the future. So, just for some context of where we're at and why we do this, things have changed in the fire service, and they change very quickly. So when I came through, which is only a short 18 years ago, most of this area that everyone was outside. The rest of this building got added on later. So for some retirees to think back on what the fire academy was like, or the buildings that they utilized, or some of the training facilities that they used, it's got to be a whole nother world. So again, welcome. It's a great facility we have here. If you guys do have time to kind of hang out afterwards, please visit the museum over there. For another little Monday morning fun fact, there's a ladder truck in there. It's a 1920 American LaFrance. It was purchased by the city in 1920 for $20,000. So we have a ladder truck we're anticipating. Yeah, 20 grand in 1920. We have a, oh, welcome, Governor.
I'm not kissing anyone.
So we're just getting started now, so you're not going to miss out on much. Okay. So that truck was $20,000 in 1920. We're anticipating delivery of a 105-foot ladder truck next month, and they're costing about $1.8 million. So a lot's changed in the fire service. It's one reason we're proud to do these kind of dedications. We have no idea where we can go to in the future if we don't look back at our past and some of the people that laid the foundation for where we're at in the fire service. So thank you very much. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the fire chief, and again, thank you all for coming out.
Woo!
Hi everybody, good morning. Thank you for coming out. Thank you, Sam, for being here, and your family. Also want to thank all of our retirees for packing the house today. Luckily we're indoors versus Herman's was a little cold outside. But it's really awesome to look out across the group and see people that I've worked with in the field, people that I've known for a long time as retirees. Some of you have only known over the course of my career as retirees, but that's how involved our retirees are with our organization. Probably over a year ago, when Mayor started the Stories of Us, the naming project, he told us we had free reign to come up with ideas to name our facilities. And so when I heard of the project, there was a couple of retirees that right away came to mind as people that I personally knew from whether being in the department or my time in administration, that were very deserving of some recognition long past our careers here. And one of the people that immediately came to my mind was Sam Trujillo, who we're naming our auditorium after today. So I know there's other speakers after me, so I don't want to steal all the really cool things about Sam, because I'm sure they're in their talking points as well. But Sam joined the department in September of 1968, and he retired in 1985. And so he's been retired for quite some time, but every single person in this room, I can guarantee you, knows Sam at some level. I didn't know this before just a few minutes ago, but Sam was telling me that he actually was a mentor and a big brother to one of our deputy chiefs when he was a teenager, and helped kind of guide him as a teenager. And he's now one of our deputy chiefs back there. Not going to say the name. Oh, he's waving. DC Marufo. Super cool story. I personally met Sam. I remember most notably meeting Sam as a deputy chief with AFR. And he's been very involved in our department and with the Retirees Association. He's one of our founding fathers sounds weird, but one of the founding members of the Retirees Association. And we have Kerry Horton, who's our current retiree president. I can see him right there. He waved his hand. Our Retiree Association is very, very important to AFR. And we are very thankful for all the work that you all put in. I know Sam, as one of the founding members, has attended over 200 retiree funerals. I think that it's really important for our current members and for all of us to think about that's how involved he is in our department, that you've attended that many funerals of our brothers and sisters. Some things about Sam that I can relate to is He has a really interesting career, some funny stories and some serious stories. I'm going to say some of the most notable ones, but he was in charge of paramedic services. And paramedicine really took off in the 70s. So you can think that he was one of our founding people in charge of paramedic services, and I oversaw EMS as the deputy chief, so a little parallel there. But the story that I really appreciate about your time in paramedic services is, I don't know how many of you know that Sam had to go to paramedic school twice. And for anybody that's gone to paramedic school, it's not something you want to do twice. It's very hard and time consuming. It's interesting, the same chief that gave Herman a hard time, for anybody that came to the naming ceremony for Herman, also gave Sam a hard time, and for him to maintain to have the position of assistant chief over EMS, he had to, the chief made him go through paramedic school a second time, and so he did. And I think that just really shows his commitment to our department and to his work. So I really love that story. And also, I cannot believe the decisions this chief made. Had you these hoops he had you guys jump through to do your job. So, but Sam has always been. This is an important one for me. Sam has always been very supportive of me as a chief, and I appreciate the support you've given to our department. I think of every event that we host that we've seen you at. I remember when we ran from the Fire Academy downtown. You were the first person I remember seeing when we got to the finish line there, that you were there cheering everybody as we finished. So very involved. I know Governor and Mayor will have some great things to say about Sam's continued service, not just to our department, but our city and our state in retirement, and that's why very deserving to name the auditorium. I felt like this is a good location to name after you, especially since you had to do paramedic school twice. But this is the first room that our cadets come into when they're newly hired by AFR. Your first orientation is in this auditorium, and so what a better place for a brand new firefighter who hasn't even gone through the academy yet to come in and see a plaque named after somebody that's given so much to our department. And I just want to end with a quote that really makes me think about our relationship with our retirees and how important they are to AFD and AFR. It's a Paul Tsongas quote, and it says, "We are a continuum. Just as we reach back to our ancestors for our fundamental values, so we as guardians of that legacy must reach ahead to our children and their children." And I do believe that Sam embodies that. He helps us remember our legacy of where we come from, but he also supports us as we grow this department and move forward. So thank you very much, Sam. I'm very honored to be able to name this after you today.
All right, thank you, Chief. And Mayor, want to come up?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks so much, Chief, and want to welcome everyone, of course, as well here on behalf of the city. And, you know, this is a tremendous facility. I was talking, Sam, to some of your understudies in the back, and they were reminding me that, you know, we haven't had this for that long. You guys all trained out by the zoo. At that old, if you ever, you know, look by the zoo, there's like a bizarre fire tower, and now we know why. It's because that's where you did all those classes. But for us, this is, of course, in many ways about looking back and honoring all that dedication, all that work that all our retirees have done, but especially you, Sam. And this is part of, as was mentioned, the Stories of Us project. And just for a moment, I always remind folks, you know, the Stories of Us is literally what it says. It's something we started 2 years ago to try and make sure that we're telling our historical stories and our personal stories in our community to each other and to the next generation. And of course, that often involves commemorating that and memorializing that with things like plaques and names and so forth. But the key is that story and the family behind that story and the department in many ways behind that story. And we also decided to start doing this in a much more rapid way so that we can share and honor the individuals who have made our city what it is. Also, while family can enjoy it and while they can enjoy it. So I always have to throw this out because the media always asks. The criteria is you pretty much have to be actually retired. That's it. And so you can't come back now, Sam. So once you are retired, we want to honor your story and honor your legacy. And so today we're of course here to talk about Sam Trujillo's legacy. And I'll share, I think, just a couple of points. There are some basic biographical facts, but they're really important. And so I do want to remind everyone that Sam's a veteran of the U.S. Navy and served during the Vietnam War. His career began as a firefighter in 1968. He was a member of the 18th Cadet Class. That was early on, for sure. But we're now at 104, by the way, to give you an idea of how the department has grown over the years. But of course, more recently has really transformed and led our retiree efforts. But I want to touch on a couple of hallmarks of his career and his leadership back with the department. And for me, you know, when I came in, I remember, I think it was one of our former chiefs had this idea to rename the department AFR instead of AFD. And I was like, well, what's the R for? And it's rescue, obviously. But that opened up a broader discussion about how our fire department has evolved over the course of 104 cadet classes. But part of that evolution was core to what Sam worked on. And it's this notion of rescue. It's the idea that you have to be there for people in their time of need, not necessarily if it's all about a structure fire. And so, Sam, what I've learned is your contributions to our hazmat efforts and our rescue in those situations. And of course, that corresponded with modern chemicals and everything that fire now has to deal with actually for the rest of their life, unfortunately. But also the way we fight fires is drastically different. And part of that transition was what Sam put into place with respect to our hazmat response. And then also, and I asked about this because the first time when I was mayor and it rained, and of course we're doing flood rescue, right? So it's the heavy technical rescue, especially in Albuquerque, what we do in arroyos. You see every year our AFR save a couple of lives in an arroyo. That is a credit to Sam and his leadership. That is the legacy that you leave each time it rains in this city. We all have different mixed emotions. It's like, great, it's raining, right? Because we all want rain. And then as mayor or as fire, the next question right away is what's happening in our arroyos, right? And the next question after that is, do we have to go save a life? That's what you initiated. And that's something that we're so grateful for. And literally dozens and dozens of people have survived those situations in many ways because of the processes and leadership that you demonstrated. So I think in many ways you are essentially the father of the rescue side. And Emily, Chief, talked about the paramedic part of that, of course. But I think looking at that in a broader sense of what rescue means, our city owes that to you, Sam Trujillo. So thank you so much. It's my honor also to name this after you today. Now, I think, am I introducing our next speaker? Yep. Okay, let me make sure, because I think I do know who it is. And she's got a great acronym of 3 letters, MLG. So let's do this. I want to say something about our governor, which is that, you know, I've been around in public service for 3 governors, and because Bill was there for a while. And of course, I'm old enough and was born and raised here to remember some other ones. And I think it is unequivocal and totally fair and appropriate to say we have never had a governor who has cared so much about fire rescue across the state as Michelle Lujan Grisham. Some of that might have to do with some of her staff who's standing in the back, but we're going to give her the credit. So let's bring up the governor who literally has invested more time and energy in fire rescue across the state, I think, than any governor in our history, Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks to the mayor and to the chief and to the retirees and to so many people for inviting me. I mean, these are the kinds of things that are really about the retirees and their families. And a governor can sign something or deliver a proclamation, but I think around the country it's rare that there's a personal relationship as powerful as the relationship that I'm lucky enough to have with Sam Trujillo. And you've heard about his incredibly distinguished career, and I could reiterate so much of that for an hour or more. But having a public service heart and carrying that out into every day isn't something, in spite of all of the work that we do collectively, that everybody has. You either have it or you don't. For some people, it might be a bit of a burden or a curse, because every neighbor, every issue, every opportunity can't be missed. You are driven to make everything that you see or touch better. It's a heavy lift. That's Sam Trujillo. I met Sam like so many people meet Sam. I was wanting to be a politician. I wasn't really even sure what that was going to look like. I had lost my husband and was thinking about, I'm doing the same thing every day. I need a shift. It's important for my family. It's important for my personal growth. And I would argue I've got a little bit of that public service heart, so I know about some of those burdens that come with that. It's a gift, and I'm lucky to have it, and I'm proud of the work that I've engaged in. But that was really important to me in that moment. And listen, you cannot run for office anywhere in the country, either party, unless you get a briefing by and you are engaging with your first responders. I mean, the men and women who dedicate their lives and frankly commit their families to this life are critical to developing relationships with your community broader than your own experience. So that's how I met my Deputy Chief of Staff, Diego Arancon, and in fact, in about 2010, it's how I met Sam. Because you're not going to get on the ground and you're not going to figure out what kinds of issues you're going to work on unless you have a relationship with retirees. Now, I was cheating a bit, Sam, because I had been the cabinet secretary for the Aging and Long-Term Services Department. So I felt like I had a pretty good understanding about the income limitations and the service limitations, cost of living lack of support, and any number of other issues. But the truth is, I didn't know a damn thing about what it was taking and the impact it has on first responder families and retirees. Now that came from Sam Trujillo, and we found that we had a whole lot in common. He took a great interest in my own family, in my own journey. I can remember having a cup of coffee with you, I'm not even sure where, and I know that you know that Sam wears his emotion on his sleeve, and so do I, and I think that we cried for maybe 2 hours because actually my husband was an organ donor, and one of the most powerful letters when you do organ donations, the recipients of those donations write to you. And that may seem like a thing that's really important for the recipient, but I cannot tell you how powerful it is for the family. And my children, so you're gonna make me cry, and I would rather have you cry. That's the way this should work. But a firefighter from Grants received my late husband's heart. He was a father of 4, and his letter was so powerful it wasn't about his own family, which it should be, and his life, and where he might go in the future, and seeing his own grandchildren. But he wanted an opportunity to continue to serve his community. The entire letter was about he wasn't ready to move from that kind of service and being recognized as someone who cared no matter what the circumstances are for that community. We started to talk about any number of exposures. And while Diego and everybody who's still in active duty, make no mistake, the retirees got the legislature to pass presumptive causation and then to add the kind of emotional impacts that first responders have. And in that regard, New Mexico is a leader. We then talked about when my youngest, who turns 38 today, January 6th, I had to call 911 because she stopped breathing as a 6 or 7 month old. And I don't know how that works. All I know is that I'm a mom. My husband's at the grocery store. I got a 2-year-old, and I got a 6 or 7-month-old that's not breathing. I call 911, and you might imagine I'm not making very good decisions in that moment. I'm panicked. It wasn't the police or the ambulance that was there first, it was the firefighters who were there first. And those firefighters saved my daughter's life. Those moments create the connection that bring first responders to our communities and hold them. Sam Trujillo doesn't go to 200 funerals because of his connection directly to the firefighter. It's because of his support to their families. It's recognizing that that is a family commitment without which we don't have enough to support this environment. So Sam has been important to all of us, and to me as a person, as a politician, as a leader. I would say in the same ways, he's been a mentor for healthcare reform, public safety investments, public safety reform, looking at ways to shore up all retirees, and maybe most importantly and valuable for me outside of first responders is that we don't do enough in this country, we never have, and we should all be fighting to do more of that for veterans. And I asked Sam a couple of years ago, I was really struggling to get my veterans department, in spite of lack of federal resources or lack of state resources, but just to really come together and to think about things that we should be doing differently. And I'm both a bit embarrassed to restate this and very proud to tell you where we are today. You know, when we take still too many veterans and older people and their families, states all across the country take old buildings, old hospitals, old detention centers, and they don't even do a good job, neither did New Mexico 50, 70 years ago, at retrofitting them. And that's where we create long-term care or housing or temporary services. And they're never good. And New Mexico's Veterans Long-Term Care Center in Truth or Consequences largely is an old TB hospital, fort and training center, where up to 6 men and women could live together in one sort of barracks-looking room, sharing a bathroom down the hall. And what the state did in the sort of interim is we built a memory wing. They didn't do a very good job at that new building. And we just kept sort of nibbling around the edges. And the care can't be good. It cannot be if you don't treat the people who live there with the dignity that they deserve. And we were struggling to put it together in a meaningful way, particularly during and after COVID. So I called Sam, and I said, Sam, I don't care what you're doing. You're going to create an advisory council. You're going to go to TRC. You're going to get $60 million at least from the legislature. You have to lobby them all the time. And then I can't wait 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or God forbid how long it takes sometimes the public sort of efforts here procuring, and there's a lot of people involved in that work and getting it built. And what I wanted was state-of-the-art, beautiful, dignified, incredible places to live with individual rooms, more like casitas, your own bathroom, your kitchen that's open 24/7. And if you have not been to Truth or Consequences and seen those casitas, it is the best by far in the country. It is the model going forward. People are engaged and happy, and they feel respected, and their families are coming. And care is improving dramatically as a result. We're going to name that first casita that opened its doors about a year ago the Sam Trujillo Veterans Casita. No task too small, no job too big. He didn't judge the state's lack of its effort or mine or anybody else's. He just took that upon himself and got it done. And I invite everyone. It is the best effort in the country, and it should be the model everywhere. And I've spoken too long, But I am so grateful that every cadet will have this man and every retiree here today to support him, to know what their legacies really are, to have a sense about how proud we are as a community and a state, and how powerful the work that you do every day, and how you make each and every one of us feel like there's nothing we can't accomplish because you care about us, you support us. And when I'm having a particularly tough day, which, God, those are like every single day, started bad this morning at about 6 a.m., Sam Trujillo is the kind of guy that will call you out of the blue and just ask you how you are. Doesn't always agree with the decisions that I make. I'm going to guess that that's true of everyone in this room. But he doesn't judge that in that moment, cares about me as a person, because he knows that as people, if we come together, there isn't anything we can't do to improve the quality of life of everybody else. So it was really powerful and important for me to say congratulations to, first, my friend, second, my mentor, third, somebody that I look up to, and fourth, somebody who I will embody every single day to be more like until we get the work done for this community that it deserves. Congratulations, Sam. And to you. You're very welcome. All right, you guys. And then this is embarrassing on camera, but I'm going to give him another kiss.
So we'll have Sam say a few words here, and then we'll move this podium out of the way, and we'll actually do the unveiling. So,
I'll try to get through this. At 3 o'clock this morning, I was thinking of what I was going to say. And I started thinking about my career. I had just gotten back from Vietnam, and my desire was to be a state police officer. I applied and I got accepted, but my mother asked me to turn it down. She had just gone through 2 years of worrying about me in Vietnam and so forth, and she just didn't want me to be a police officer. Luckily, I applied with AFD in the post office, and AFD is the first one that called me. And I started my career back 56 years ago. I was blessed because I came into a department. It didn't have the brotherhood that we do today. It was a real hard job. I started at $1.45 an hour. They had a retirement system based on what they call the Rule of 85, which was a combination of your age and years of service before you could retire. I got involved with the union, IAFF Local 1455, which is now IFF Local 244. I got involved and tried to change the department. It was very hard because their answer was always, it's always been done this way. And we had ideas of how to make it safer, how to improve on the technology and so forth. It was a long struggle, but we were able to accomplish a lot. My career ended up with me being involved in the legislation that gave us the 25-year retirement, improved our wages and working conditions from a 72-hour week. No overtime, just strict 72 hours at $1.45 an hour. We've come a long way. I wrote down a couple of notes here. In 1974, Albuquerque Fire Department started the paramedic program. Medical technology had come a long way post-Vietnam. In Vietnam, they learned to use MAST trousers, the MAST, military anti-shock trousers for controlling shock, how to better treat trauma, IV infusion of drugs and so forth to save people. So all that came into play in 1974 when we started the paramedic program. We did come a long way. I was blessed with my career. I I advanced through the ranks fairly fast. I took 6 promotional exams, and I came out number 1 on each of them. So I moved up very quickly. I was able to become paramedic director when our paramedic director retired, and took over the paramedic division once in right around 1977. And from there, we improved on the rescue service that we provided to the city of Albuquerque. The mayor appointed me to the EMS board, and we were able to improve on a system that creating the level 1 trauma center that we have at UNM. The political fight for medical care was real strong back then because there was money to be made in the medical profession. We fought with an ambulance company that would try to take over our paramedic program, and luckily we were able to salvage it. We had a 3-man crew, and I used to justify a 3-man crew by indicating that 1 person on airway management, another person on CPR, and the 3rd person to communicate and administer drugs. That really worked out really great for us and so forth. I challenged the active firefighters that are here today to do everything possible to improve on the system that we have today, whether it be your retirement and so forth. I feel good that I left AFD in a better shape than what I found it when I first came in and so forth. So I have a lot to be grateful. I owe a lot of my success to being involved with the International Association of Firefighters, the IAFF. We were able to improve on everything from retirement to wages and so forth. We owe a lot to IAFF, and I hope that you active firefighters continue. I see in the background Diego Arencon, Miguel Titman, Kerry Horton is here. These are all the leaders that helped us have what we do today. In the year 2000, we created the Albuquerque Fire Department Retirees Association. Founding members were Herman Bishop, myself, and Ralph Cedillo. We would meet at our houses at night, 8 of us and so forth, and start creating a brotherhood, a list of members that we could bring in and so forth. And today we're over 600 members. As the mayor and them said, we've attended, on Wednesday we will have our 233rd AFD retiree funeral. That's a lot of funerals. I've been privileged to help the families in guiding them from meeting with the funeral directors to informing them of benefits that they have, like their paid up life insurances and so forth, to make sure that families are taken care of. And we continue to follow through with the retirees after the passing. I call the family members a few weeks later, 6 months later, even 2 years later, to see if everything's okay. Do they need anything? I want them to remember that they are part of our fire family. And we have a bond that I can't think of another profession that has the bond that we do. Attend one of our funerals and you'll see what I'm talking about. I have a lot to be blessed, and never in my wildest dream ever thought of this. Thank my family for being here. I thank the governor, the mayor, fire chief, and all my brothers and sisters that are in the audience. My family and friends, thank you. God bless.
Don't go too far. We'll move it back a little bit, and we'll end up the track, all right?
Three backwards.
You're fine.
Ready?
Three,
two,
one.
one.